Hello, and welcome to my Intellectual Freedom Allies presentation. My name is Jessica Paul, and the focus today will be on intellectual freedoms and what it means to be truly free. I will place an emphasis on the First Amendment and how certain organizations fight to continue to protect these freedoms. In this video, I will discuss the organization of the Americans United for Separation of Church and State. I will also compare and contrast this organization with the ALA, which is short for the American Library Association. In conclusion, I will discuss how these two organizations could come together to help lift each other up and collaborate on bringing their ideal world into reality. Now then, who exactly are the Americans United for Separation of Church and State, and what is their mission? From here on out, I will refer to them as the AU for short. This organization is made up of many different types of people who come from all sorts of religious backgrounds, sexual orientations, political affiliations, and so on. Their number one goal is to ensure that the First Amendment stating that separation of church and state is upheld. By doing this, they help protect people's right to religious freedom. Their main focus is inclusion. All walks of life are accepted and encouraged to participate within this organization. A brief history. This organization was founded in 1947, which makes it 75 years old today. They fight to protect public education, censorships of books and other forms of media, and abortion bans. In recent history, they pushed for and advocated for the Do No Harm Act, which is a bill that essentially restores religious freedom. By protecting these things, it promotes a learning environment that is free from religious speculation and censorships. It also protects citizens from being forced to participate in religious contexts that they may not agree with. There are many Supreme Court cases that the UA fought alongside with to win. They have also filed lawsuits when freedom of religion has been attacked in schools. What similarities does AU have with the ALA? AU and ALA are similar in their inclusion and diversity beliefs. They feel that a learning environment should be free from hostility, which makes inclusion of all cultural, sexual orientations, and religious backgrounds possible. A place free from feeling bad about being different from the person next to you. It is stated that if a school includes a club focused on religious context, that an LGBTQ club must also be allowed, such as GSA. No one should be made to feel ashamed of who they are or who they believe they are. They both believe books should not be censored or banned, especially on religious premise or background alone. The AU supports the ALA's efforts in having Banned Books Week, as there are many articles on their website where people share their experiences and perspectives of having intellectual freedom restrictions. A specific article by an Amy Couch, who is a member of the AU staff team, tells her story of how her mother didn't allow her to read certain books. The reason she wasn't allowed to read these books is because they challenged her raised belief system, and she was made to believe that she would be condemned to hell if she continued to read. This was her mother's way of pushing her beliefs and ideologies onto her child, and trying to restrict her mind from expanding by reading about some seemingly taboo subjects. She went on to tell of the importance of reading in her article posted on September 22, 2022, entitled Banned Books Week. Books help us know we are not alone. As the title suggests, she tells how books help her feel connected to other people through the world of imagination, and how she can relate to some of the characters in the books she would read. With this relation, she feels she is not alone in her experiences and identities. It is important not to restrict someone else's sense of belonging just because that feeling is found within the pages of a book that someone else may not agree with. No one person or group should be able to restrict what another person finds interesting or relatable. She then goes on to share that she feels books that challenge us open us up to being more empathetic and frees our imagination. It is a way of ushering in a new way of thinking, which can help in engineering a new, kinder world in which we come from a center of love and freedom and fall away from a center of control-based fear, even if these new ways of thinking go against the status quo. They both believe that church and state should remain separate. The separation of church and state means that religious doctrine should not be taught in public schools. However, if a student would like to practice their beliefs on campus, they are allowed, so long as it is not disruptive. This has been an ongoing struggle for decades, as some politicians tried to implement laws where all students must participate in group prayer or other religious lessons. These laws have since been overturned. It was the UA who challenged some of these laws to help keep them from being passed or sought to revoke them. Each organization does their part in spreading awareness of the issues at hand. They actively try to encourage people to get involved in political voting and involved in being a part of the movement. The majority of all people in the U.S. believe that censorship is a threat to intellectual freedom. But if more people don't get involved and talk about these issues we face, the few could make it to where the many aren't allowed to feel inclusion in the solace of a book. Intellectual and religious freedom is under attack, and people must take a stand to make sure we don't get stripped of these rights. In an article in the April 2022 edition of Church and State magazine by Nora Pelizzari, which is entitled Battling the Book Banners, National Coalition Against Censorship Defends Students' Rights to Learn and Read. Nora says, while the participating organizations may approach their defense of free expression differently, they are united in the conviction that censorship of what we see and hear and read constitutes an unacceptable dictatorship over our minds and a dangerous opening to religious, political, artistic, and intellectual repression. Not only is our freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of press under attack, but our freedom of expression is as well. Every individual should be free to express outwardly who they feel they are. This is a right we must not give up on. How do they contrast? The AU focuses more on religious freedoms, while the ALA focuses on other similar First Amendment rights. The UA focuses on laws being passed on a federal level, while the ALA focuses on more awareness on the local level, such as in school boards or library boards. From the research I have conducted and presented today, it goes without saying that these two organizations have more things in common than they do in differences. These two work collaboratively based on mutual respect with a focus on First Amendment advocacy. They inspire all walks of life to participate in the change we wish to see in the world. One way they collaborate is through the movement known as Unite Against Book Bans. Unite Against Book Bans is a movement that was created by the ALA, which has the UA's full support. Other ways they can continue to work together is by advocating for laws that protect all people and their First Amendment rights. All references made in this presentation were found during my research on the ALA and UA websites. This concludes my video presentation. Thanks for watching.